And we are back with the BTS Pro Series Grand Finals Geek Slate with a game advantage here in the best of 5. Once again, choosing Radiant side as well, Danog. This time they didn't have priority. And,
yeah, it was second pick that Execration chose, so they want to be able to get the better end out of the laning phase, I suppose, maybe hoping that it would have gone another way for themselves. We saw Shanks have some success on his Dawnbreaker, and it seems like they feel like that's going to be the response to be able to protect this Visage, because they still want Tino to have that potential to be able to play this Aura Builder. I'm not sure if Nature's Prophet is going to be the easiest lane to go into that, though. You've still got to deal with all of the treants.
Hero is not a support anymore, right? You're pretty much a 1 or very rarely a 3.
The
NP.
Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I would say so. And hey, there we go. And we don't know what this is. You know, when their previous series against Army Geniuses, it was played as a 1, which got second item 4 staff and a 3 as well. But like I was saying before, every single one of the players on GeekFam have been playing it in their pubs. So it could be anywhere.
All right, well, it's going to be exciting to see where this bounty hunter does end up. I'm just going to take a look. What did they ban? So last time they banned the Ember, Shadowfin, and the Dawnbreaker when they played the bounty. That was the 8th pick bounty as well in Game 2 when Force played it. So, of course, Dawn can't be banned, but there's that Ember ban once again.
Yeah, you have to wonder what exactly they want for this, right? Because is this going to be that 3 bounty? Is it just about denying away a certain style of hero that you want to play? Like, you can't play a Dawnbreaker 1 into a bounty hunter, for example, because Dawn is that style of hero that just wants to stay in the lane, and so does Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter is great at denying that. You just yoink the enemy every 3 seconds now on the Janata, so it just feels really effective in that way. So someone that's able to go into the jungle and pick up a lot more of that elusive farm, like the Luna, for example, or the Ember Spirit to a lesser extent, is a much better band, because that's just going to be something that you would never want to play a bounty hunter into anyway. So Geek Slate are just keeping their options open.
And the previous bounty games, 28-minute victory and 27-minute victory, in both those games, they did not have a late game win condition. I wouldn't particularly put Leshrac in that category. Very dependent on the game if you can scale, but obviously for the drafts that they've tried to play with the bounty hunter, it's really just run at you and have every single hero that can do just that.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's really just going to depend. I think they'll decide where this bounty hunter goes in the last phase. Like that is going to come down to that late. I think they just need to pick whatever's going to be most flexible as well with the remainder of their picks, because this was their, I guess you could call it a gotcha. I probably would have picked it first if I was. I guess they didn't want Execration to get the Nature's Prophet for themselves as well, but it's a solid enough start. A little bit too single target for mine, so I want to see Geek Slate address that a little bit. Some team fight, some AoE damage, and maybe a little bit more trending towards the magic side is what I'd be hoping for them here.
Okay. On one of those AoE heroes in regards to the Pango that they look to pick up in Game 1 against the Visage. They won't be able to now because of the different in priority with their heroes. So there's that AoE gone and kind of a way to address the Visage. So is there something else we could see? I was going to mention Tiny, but that actually just got banned out as well.
Which they actually banned out. I honestly would have said something along the lines of Tiny or the Ember Spirit, to be honest. But maybe they're just giving themselves the option of running this bounty mid. They're just wanting to keep that as a potential for themselves. But you know me, I'm always a fan of the Venomancer. I feel like that's pretty good against the Visage, especially if you're pairing it together with a Nature's Prophet. You can go for kills pretty reliably. You're going to need to force like TPs out pretty regularly. The other thing is you're up against a Dawnbreaker, so if it is being played as a strength hero, this is another strength hero, Poison Nova now, percent damage. You could even Phoenix as well as a possible option. I like Phoenix against this. Heroes that don't necessarily have a ton of attack speed. Familiars don't do anything against the Supernova. And again, that percentage damage feels pretty solid. So they got some options.
5 seconds remaining.
Also kind of telegraphed the Tusk pick with the Jakiro ban as well.
Stands ready.
It's still not
Dire
guaranteed
team
with where this is going to be. It's still not guaranteed with how Geek Slate are going to put this out. Like, these three heroes could legit go anywhere. It could be a Nature's Prophet off lane. It could be a Sven position 1. It could be a Sven 5. The options are endless, essentially, for Geek Slate
10
right now.
I think
seconds
it's
remaining.
Sven 5, Snap 4, and Nature's 1, Bounty 3. I don't think you can run
5
Furon as a
seconds
support.
remaining.
And
That's
I,
how I'm feeling right now,
Yeah.
yes.
okay.
But
Radiant
it's just a
team
question of where do they
ban.
want this Dawn to go
Lina.
is the other question. So what they're essentially saying with this pick is, look, let's just win one lane. We forget everything that Geek Slate are trying to do. Let's ban out the sniper. Let's ban out these other super ranged heroes and just win the lane. Harass. You're not going to be able to put bounty mid.
10
Snapfire
seconds
mid doesn't
remaining.
feel that great either. Neither does Nature's Prophet,
5
right? So
seconds
you're going to need to
remaining.
be forced to pick your position 2 hero next. Let's just ban out sniper and maybe the Leshrac.
Kind of mixed feelings about this Lina, because I'm a bit concerned that Geek Slate is just going to run at her, and that's definitely something that you can't handle at the early stage of the game.
Dire team
You got multiple
ban.
saves though, right?
That is a nice thing.
Snowball, Soul Guardian,
Radiant team ban.
build into 4 staffs.
So we're under the assumption they're looking for a position 2 on Geek Slate. What do we feel like with the crazy draft that they have? And again, every lineup that they're going with the bounties end the game early. So we're taking that into
Leshrac.
consideration. Okay.
10 seconds.
Leshrac
remaining.
or Death Prophet are my 2 options. I think if they ban out
5
Bloodseeker here,
seconds
that'd
remaining.
be the most likely outcome. Probably not going to pick a Bloodseeker just because the lanes would be pretty horrendous, but we'll see. We'll see what they choose to do.
The Lesh is something that we scam played in the game where Force was playing the bounty hunter. So, of course, Cox is very, very comfortable to play, but just in regards to something that the pairing, the hero pairing is something they very much like, and they'll be able to push down objectives. You've got the Warcry to buff you up as well, which is really nice considering a lot of the damage from Execration is going to be the physical. So, not hate that at all.
Mm-hmm. Other options. I was about to say maybe an Invoker, but not really. They have a decent amount of stuns, and you're able to get some of that track gold around the map without actually balling up with your team, just with the Sunstrike and Sprout, Stormhammer, Cookie. Could work.
Do we feel like even though they definitely have a run at you lineup, there's some issues with maybe just getting that initial jump? Because I mean, Sven's not going to build a blink until like maybe really, really late, and even then, not going to expect out
Probably
of a
not.
support Sven.
Yeah.
So
Much more like a Boots of Bearing into
Mm.
an Ag Shard or something like that. Yeah, I can certainly see it, but that's where I feel like someone like the Death Prophet or the Leshrac is going to be good, because then you kind of have to go to them. Nature's Prophet and one of those heroes, you force an aggressive movement, and then you make that turnaround, because the burst is solid. The damage is solid on Geek Slate. It's just they don't have the catch. So if they don't have the catch, can you afford to go something like a Morphling, for example? That's a position 1 that might be able to abuse a little bit of that magic damage that you've got early on, catch the Nature's Prophet. I think it could possibly be an option. They're thinking that it might be a Lina position 1 with the
okay,
Void Spirit being banned out.
that's a pretty cool thought actually, because then we've spoken a lot about the lane sustain melee heroes that Bounty
10
Hunter
seconds
destroys, and
remaining.
well, Lina can just play your distance and spam with
Radiant
Dragon
team
Slave. So I actually wonder if that is something that Execration can do.
Mhm. And it's going to be Execration that
Dire
makes
team
the
pick.
choice at the end of the day of how exactly this is going to be. So, all right. So is it a 5 bounty now? Or is it a 4 bounty? Or is it a mid bounty?
Can you
This is
blood?
what I'm talking about.
Can you blood Seagull?
10 seconds
Could be a bit too
remaining.
slow, actually. Like a
Yeah.
Rupture looks good, but Maelstrom BKB is really your
5
timing, and that could be a
seconds
bit too late.
remaining.
Night Stalker too slow. Doom too slow.
Is it too slow? You go Agshard, deal with the Lycan push, and Lina can... The Night Stalker, yeah.
I'm just thinking the lane as well. Like, then they'll just put the Bounty Hunter in your lane and yoink you, and then you get to that timing so much later.
And also you
Again,
kind of...
very physical.
You're probably playing with a Tusk Dawn support as well. I mean, you could play Dawn 1 and look for another support.
Screw it. Give me the Meepo. What's going to happen? I mean, I have no idea where they're going to pick here on Execration. I wouldn't be surprised if they go down to the very last second of this time and just trying to figure out what their response is going to be to this. Is it like they've kind of put themselves in a little bit of a corner with banning out the Puck and the Mars, right? Two heroes that are pretty good against the Lycan.
Okay.
Bunker's decent. I don't hate this. You know, it's a hero that both Palace and Bob are able to play pretty well. It is going to be Palace playing the Lena, still thinking that, look, I'm probably going to be against a bounty hunter plus Lycan, so double melee ranged is going to be very effective against that. I really don't hate it.
There's a hero that's really the thing. Stops the push, doesn't need a lot to come online early, can sit in front of the Lena, doesn't also need a whole lot of items as well. I really like this Conquer pick. It's going to be interesting if, like, around the level 6 and Helm Dom timing on the Lycan, if they're going to swap the Lena to go mid and then put the Conquer safe lane.
Do you think even Geek Slate know who's playing what? Because they still haven't picked their heroes.
I think they're just toying with us.
All right, Roger Sven, Scam Lycan, a Force Bounty Hunter,
Mid-Nature's
a
Prophet.
Mid-Nature's Prophet,
into Conquer.
Seems odd to me, unless maybe it's a mid Lycan. No, that doesn't feel good either. I don't know. I'm keen to see what Geek Slate have up their sleeves for this one, because they've tried to be very clever. Again, it's a best of 5. You could afford to be. If they manage to win with this draft in a convincing fashion, I feel like Execration are just going to be shell-shocked and feel like they can't draft at all. So I think they've just gone for super jank, super odd positions of heroes, and they're going to try and make it work. They've forced the one Lena to be able to potentially counter this bounty hunter, and they were right in that regard, but how are these other lanes going to fare? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued. I don't particularly know how this game it's going to shape up. One thing I do want to say is the fact that Scam has always felt very comfortable when he's playing position 1 on like an active hero. We saw it back in Neon, and we're really starting to see with this Geek Slate roster as well. It took him some time, like through the groups, through the early start of the groups. In the end, they ended 12-6, only 6 losses. And they're growing their identity, and so far through the playoffs, we're continuing to see that identity develop and really just into this run at you, don't stop, classic C mentality, as Bob gives the good luck enemy. So this is something they've had a lot of success on so far through the playoffs, and I don't think it's going to be any different. I do really like this Conquer pick, but Bob's saying this smirking. Hang on. Some pretty goddamn good shots from Carlo, and that's first blood. And some trains.
The thing is, I don't dislike Execration's draft at all. I'm just worried that GeekFam have a really good draft. You know, well, it's something new, you know? So I have no idea what it is and how well it's going to work. If I saw this Execration draft in a nutshell, where you had like a Lena against 2 melee heroes and, one melee hero and a Snapfire, it's not too bad. The Visage Dawnbreaker lane feels pretty solid. Kunkka against multiple units, physical damage, feels really solid, right? It's just, I don't know how it's going to be executed on Geek Slate to be able to, you know, maybe turn my comprehension around about how all these heroes fit together. Carlos, have to be careful here.
Now he's got Shanks and Carlo playing in front of him, acting as the bodyguard, so Palos try and get some of the spells going. Do they want to turn it around, though? Scatterblast still on cooldown for the moment, so some resources being expended between the two, but we will have, in the end, a 2-for-1. Scam denied one of the bounties. And they're going to spot the lanes as well, so they're going to try and put the Lycan up top and have the bounty actually coxes what's going on. Okay, I like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you had to do, right?
Holy shit. Sorry. Dude, he's got so much armor. I forgot bounties had this much armor.
That's why I'm always talking about magic damage, dude, because you're very fast, you've got an insane amount of armor. So, I mean, this was the best option for Geek Slate, right? You've got 2 summon heroes that are going to have a horrible time against the Kunkka with a Tidebringer, and now you've got someone that, again, excels against these heroes that just want to stay in the lane. He's even, like, slowly walking back whenever the Tidebringer is coming off cooldown so that he can get that little bit of extra armor from the tower.
What is this? I'm so surprised he's not getting played. He has... What are these base stats? His damage is pretty good. His mana pool is nuts. What? Like, he can do 7 shurikens?
Yep. Isn't it great? Just got to make sure you don't feed away any kills super early on, which, you know, he did. But you just got to make sure you get up into that ring of health, and then you'll be just fine.
Maybe the one thing working for Bob is just the fact that Force has never played mid. Like, we do not see on his previous rosters him ever being swapped into that mid lane. So maybe that's one thing that can go the way of Bob's Conquer.
It certainly is a little bit of unfamiliar territory, but you can just see he's just wanting to spam out that Janata whenever possible. Has to be a little bit careful once you start to build up into those extra levels, though, with Bob's holding on to the second point, just using it to try and secure that kill with the Tidebringer. Is he actually going to man up here?
Force doing this? Oh no. Oh god, what have we got in store for us? This bounty hunt is not going to be fun to verse.
Nope, not at all. I'm trying to think, like, what can you actually do against this? Because they've drafted pretty heavy physical damage. Maybe it's a Magic Lina build this game, just to be able to try and contest against that. Remember, it's not just the Bounty Hunter, it's also a support Sven, who's going to have that Warcry active at a lot of these team fights.
Yep. It's going to be a lot of damage mitigation. I appreciate the thought of the potential Lina magic. I don't think that's kind of possible, though, if you're kind of acting as, like, the carry.
Might have to,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I guess it puts you in that awkward position where...
You're putting a lot on Tino to do the pushing.
Oh.
Get him up to his level 15, hope the other lanes don't go too badly.
Force going to be cautious. Doesn't need the torrent. It's going to be okay. Getting really close to this Vanguard.
That's the thing as well. I mean, he's just getting so much of his net worth stolen away from him on Bob. That lower cooldown.
Holy shit. Dude, I'm just so astonished at this bounty. Look at the net worth. I know he did get a kill, but it's like 1,000 difference.
He's not really spamming out his abilities as much as I was
Force
thinking.
might go down. Oh! Bob dipped him.
Instantly. I mean, he's thanking his lucky stars, so at least now he's got another set of tankers, he's got the bracer coming out to him. He realizes that he just needs to try and beef up on stats. I'm not sure if the bottle's going to do too much for him this game.
Well, let's take a look at some side lanes where we have the opportunity to do so. Looks like Cox having a pretty good time. I'm also very... Well, his body block's looking pretty good onto Tino. It needs some even better micro, not the case though. I'm really intrigued on how he's going to be able to perform on this hero, considering it's something that we don't really see him play at all. Top lane, Narman. Trying to step back towards a tower. Carlo goes for the kill. We'll eat some tower hits, but we'll be okay.
Seeing Cox's build as well. I think he's going into... just getting the power trades. I thought he might be considering a Witchblade. Going up against Tino feels pretty solid, just to again have another one of those damage over time sources coming through. But really just prioritizing his own farm a little bit. And nothing out of the ordinary for Scam either. Going into that Helm of the Dominator, Helm of the Overlord soon to follow. Oh, might be in a position to actually get some damage up here onto Palace, but good positioning by Carlo to interrupt that. But now Force has the Vanguard, and life becomes a whole lot more difficult for Bob. All that damage block coming through means that realistically he might be taking good damage from the Tidebringer, but not from any of these right clicks.
Not at all. Bob does have that level 6 already to play with, but no supports are going to start to rotate. to try and utilize that potential ultimate. So
Cox,
bottom
though.
lane, Cox is in a bit of trouble. Sprout to the TPR. Roger's going to be able to cover that with the Star Hammer as well. Nicely done. Meanwhile, top lane Skem taking a little bit of damage as well. The tag team with a right click. Skem will actually end up going down. Carlos still got some spells to utilize. Very big kill for them to find.
Doesn't it?
Oh, is he in trouble? Force has got that ultimate to play with. Some extra movement speed to chase him down. Rogi as well with the haste can connect. And we'll have our first track kill of the game.
What a Chad, Roger. Just diving underneath the
Cox bottom
tower.
lane.
No cares.
They're going to get him as he's able to TP back in. Soul Assumption from downtown. All right, that's big. That's teleport and his teleport ability on cooldown as well. So he will not be able to rejoin bottom.
Yeah, about 20 seconds there of downtime. Very rare that a Nature's Prophet has to take the walk of shape. I'm keen to see what Bob does in this sort of situation. Like, do you just go back to this mid lane? Do you try and address the catapult first? What is your avenue for coming back into this? Because Force has already taken over. I mean, he's got a 1,200 net worth lead 6 minutes in.
Yeah, and I think he needs to be considering about how he's going to look to protect that top tower as well once you get the Helm Dom. Because they might not even need to wait for the 10-minute catapult timing on Geek Slate to look to take that T1 tower top.
All right. Well, Bob, he's gotten rid of the catapult. I think now is just the time of what I was talking about before. These
Top lane.
heroes that can go away.
Cookie in from Narman, and Cox going to look to try and TP in as well with a snowball. We'll give Palace a bit of a time to get out, but not the case, so they'll look for the turnaround instead as both supports from Execration. Able to get a kill onto Narman.
The way to deal with Bounty Hunter is kind of similar to what we talk about with Undying, right? Is that you just don't lane against it. You try and find any avenue that you can to get farm elsewhere on the map. For Bob, he went back, took a stack that had been built up for him by his supports, and then he comes back to the lane. While he's underneath the tower, uses a few of those Tiebringers. He's going to stay in the lane and do it once more, wait for the neutrals to spawn, and then just come back to the lane again. So he's recovered. He just needed to get up onto that level 7 first. Force is just going to make him regret coming back to this lane at every opportunity, and they'll always know where he is. Although, do they go for a kill here?
No, they're going to make the attempt. They're starting to TP some members in. Force is pretty goddamn tanky. We'll see if they can reposition him with the cookie. Narman has this one up and available. It's going to get him down to the low ground with the shards being off the mark as well. Force, he's okay. They might go for Shanks. Hammer to play with if required, but they're going to try and stop that shot. Rogi, 2 points to the Star Hammer. Enough of a stun lock to make sure he does not escape, and another track kill as well, importantly. And now they're looking for Tino across the map as well.
Yeah, that Stormhammer was just so integral, right? It holds them in position for a ridiculous amount of time where you're just able to do whatever you want. And this is a bounty hunter that is just zooming out of control pretty damn quickly. I mean, what's he going into? Just more armor. Phase boots, looking to try and chase people down. I wonder how early on is Roger going to be looking to buy that the Drums of Endurance? Because I feel
Top
like
lane.
that's something that Force would love.
Palos, first use of the shapeshift of the game, and Force is even going to try and get some track kills working for them as well, and now this opens up the T1 tower for them to claim. They saw those TPs down bottom from Execration. They're going to be able to capitalize on him being alone. Meanwhile, mid lane though, Rogi in a bit of trouble. Force is going to look to try and TP him. A beautiful Star Hammer as well from Rogi will buy enough time for even Cox to hold Bob in with a Sprout. Going to be relying on the tree and blocks, and Bob will go down, and now Carlo, he's going to be sent into the grave as well. Carlo just gets out with a snowball, but Cox only needs one more right click, and Force is not
He's
even
still
done
going,
just
man.
yet. Might even go onto the tower, and why not? You've got the Vanguard to help tank up. We'll be able to dodge the stun from the Dawnbreaker, and Force gets the double kill. And now up top, Palos, he TP'd back to the lane, is able to dodge the Scatter Blast. But oh man, having a Visage have to TP in, and now he cancelled it. So what he got to keep Palos alive? Bob's going to look to try and get involved. The TP out for the Conquer. He's got the boat to work with. It's going to be a long TP though. So the damage, it's already been dealt. They'll be able to turn to kill off Rogi. But now Force is in the neighborhood. And bye-bye Palos. They're going to be able to drag him back into the Solar Guardian. In fact, Palos be okay, it looks like. Geek Slate. They'll allow him to just live to see another day.
Yeah, I got a little bit too antsy there on Geek Slate for sure. I mean, needing to play a lot more around that Helm of the Dominator. That's the big strength of the Lycan at this stage. Kunkka, again, it was a really good game for the Kunkka, but of course, Force playing it incredibly well. It's just about for Bob adjusting the gameplay, which he's managed to do in these last couple of seconds. Ooh, that's not ideal though. Being able to get that quick kill off on Narman. Are they even making a play bottom?
Yeah, they are. Tino might be in trouble. They don't have the easiest way to be able to go through the Gravekeeper's cloak. And they try and kite the familiar stuns as well, as it looks like Tino getting back to the safety of the tower. Do Geek Slate still want to go on for more?
Nice push.
Great use of the micro, dragging him back to the right clicks required, and Force is just spamming out these shurikens on a low cooldown.
Why not? 80 mana with some mana regen coming from the infused raindrop seems pretty easy to me.
Force is out of mana though, which is a bit of an issue. So he won't really be able to help them turn it around, as the TP is out of Execration. Will net them a kill onto Skem. That brings the boys down though. Roger for the secret shop, and they've also got Nama nearby, ready for the pincer move.
They just got to wait for a bit more mana though.
I'll find it.
Force is quite ready.
Cookie in, Mortimer kisses, target down Palace once again. Gonna be his 4th death of the game, and now they'll turn their attention over to Bob. A defensive use of the boat is gonna allow him to get some distance away to the northern side. I don't know if you're killing Force though, man. This guy seems pretty unkillable at this stage of the game.
Nice stuns. Even just Carlo using the ice shards to block off the path of potential chase coming through. I want to see Force spend some of his money, and he finally has. What's he purchased for himself? Oh, a Crimson Guard. Great. So now you don't have to worry about even more physical damage, and also your team are a lot safer against those familiars. So expect to see some tier 2, tier 3 dives in the next couple of minutes.
Oh, Carlo. Just waiting on the high ground, waiting for Force to pop that regen, and then popped it instantly with the shards.
Cheeky.
That it is indeed. As Geek Slate, 5,000 net worth lead. Of course, a lot of this is inflated due to the fact of that track. So any lineup with the Bounty Hunter needs to have this net worth lead. The game needs to look exactly like this, or your lineup, you're not getting the maximum out of it. So when we need to see them start continuing to convert, they haven't gotten this tier 1 tower up top yet. What do we feel like they're waiting for on Radiant?
I don't think they need to wait for anything. I mean, I feel like they're strong enough with the Crimson Guard. It's low enough. You don't need to pop the shapeshift for it. You've got the Helm of the Dominator. It's going to be enough.
We'll see if they can split their resources up to take top and defend bottom at the same time. Is Bob and Tino going to run into Rogi? They got 2 points in the Warcry, so not enough to beef him up. Actually, Narman's going to look to TP up. So, one thing that we do have working on Execration is going to be the Wraith Pact here for Tino's Visage. How concerned are we that it's going to stop a lot of the damage on Geek Slate?
It'll stop a decent amount of damage. What I'm worried about is just your damage potential. You know, it's all well and good if they're not doing anything, but you could just go for someone else. You could take out the Wraith Pact and then be a lot stronger.
Potentially see if that damage is going to be an issue here with this smoke. Execration, who they want to try and target down. Force. Very beefy man, even a casual cloak as well picked up for the Bounty Hunter. Be playing off for the right side. Is this really the person they want to try and target down? And it's not going to be the case. Smoke pops. And there, yeah, look at Force, even running forward, wanting a high five out of them. He's just toying with Execration.
Not even worrying about a point into the Shadow Walk just yet. He wants to be the threat. He wants to draw a lot of the attention towards him, and now he can spam out those shurikens in every 3.5 seconds. So he's just begging for someone to come towards him, wanting the fight.
With all the all the aggression he's putting on across the map on Force, we see that Skirmishes just being able to invade into Dire's jungle, take a lot of the aggressive farm. Cox is getting a lot of farm across the map as well. In fact, he's more net worth than Force's Bounty Hunter with this Maelstrom, with this Midas and Javelin. Actually, I think Maelstrom's now completed, and yeah, Skem with the shapeshift up top. I'll be wanting to shanks inside the tree line, so should be able to get a kill onto the Dawnbreaker. Even looking for another one across the map as well as Bob. Playing with the X, so he's going to be able to get some distance away. They're considering about going for Force. We'll see. Mortimer kisses, and as soon as the artillery's layered down, Execration. They do a quick U-turn, but unfortunately, Carlo won't be fast enough.
Well, they do have that Wraith Pact available, but I just don't think it's enough. You're going to have someone like the Snapfire, just with the single point and the Little Shredder as well. Very, very quick to be able to take care of it. So Naaman's positioning is going to be key, I think, for this next
All
fight.
right, let's see. They have to use every single ability to try and bring down the bounty hunter, and they will be able to do so. And Naaman's going to go down too, and this will be able to open up some objectives for Execration.
Okay, all it takes is one kill. Wasn't able to get off that magic wand and the extra movement speed from the phase boots, so yeah, maybe something could have changed if Roger was perhaps a little bit closer. I think he just doesn't want to put himself in that risky position when he doesn't have that Aghanim shard picked up just yet, looking to secure that early farm for himself.
A lot of gold and map control given over to Execration now. On tower going their way, they can look to address some of the lanes. They do. Looks like they're actually probably going to lose their own tier 1 tower bottom. Catapult needs one more right click to find that last tier 1 tower of the game.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
Got it.
Finally, Force just puts the single point into the Shadow Walk, so realizes the strength that they've got right now on Execration. Will end up walking forward and catch Bob as he gets the X marks off, but more importantly, got the track there, so we'll have that extra movement speed, catches up to the courier, snipes that, gets rid of their vision, and again, it's just another bit of roaming, ganking time for, well, I guess Force feels like he might need the Aegis to come through, just to make himself truly unkillable, unless they feel like giving it over to Cox.
Looks like all they were waiting for, though, was the Helm of the Overlord that Skem just completed. As soon as they pick that item up, ready to go, get Roche. And you look to maybe deal with your waves before you try and take this tier 2 top?
Yeah, I would say so. There's still a little bit too much threat for mine from Tino down on the bottom side. You don't want to enable him to hit that level 12, but it seems like they just want to try and get a pick off on the way down towards defending that, and Palace would be a fantastic one for them to pick up, and
He would.
they'll find him.
Alice holds him down with the LSA. Still the stun into the Mortimer Kiss. There should be plenty of damage from afar as the snowball just a bit too late from Carlo. So a big kill to be able to slow down the Lena's game. Was starting to stay track with the net worth. Carlo, they're going to go for the dive. Why not? A T2 tower. It's not enough of a deterrent for Force.
Even just doing a pseudo way to be able to stop this push on the bottom side. You've got Force cutting the
lane?
wave.
Tino, they've even got Shanks to be able to TP him with the Solar Guardian, so alright, at least they get something out of the map, but they're probably going to lose this tier 2 mid.
I guess, but Cox didn't need to be there is the other thing, right? I just mentioned how you were already doing a good job of cutting that next wave, so it would have naturally started pushing itself out. So a little bit of unnecessary gold given away, especially considering Cox was top of the net worth for his team. Can only really afford to do that once the BKB is up and available, when you don't need to worry about the snowball and the X marks and everything else.
Money to burn.
Nice read from Tino. We'll be able to TP out, so we have this bottom wave still getting shoved in from Radiant, so not too much of an issue. Just won't be able to clip him, so more time for Palos to be able to get towards that BKB, which is now coming out on the courier.
I just love this run at you style. I mean, you've got a drums coming out from Scam into the AC. You've also got a drums being queued up by Roger. You've got a snowballing bounty hunter, and you've got a nature's prophet that's just able to, with his Midas, farm crazy amounts around the map. So it's not going to stop for Geek Slate. They're just going to keep moving on forward. The key target for them to try and find for these pickoffs is still the Visage, right? He is the one that's going to stop a lot of... Well, that's a big pickoff too. All of that additional armor, physical damage reduction, suddenly not available anymore. And, well, it doesn't seem like Force wants to leave his team too much, though. Just going to secure the tier 2 tower for themselves.
It's a pretty decent spot, though, for Execration to take a fight. They've got that cliff ward by the secret shop, so just kind of maybe trying to see if Geek Slate want to come back and defend the tier 1 tower, but that's not the case, because they're going to be eyeing up the tier 2 tower down bottom instead. Lane is getting shoved out. See if they want to continue to control the area, potentially dropping a ward down. Instead, Roger's actually going to look to place it more to the left side of that remnant of the tier 2 mid.
I mean, Lena's got the BKB, so she feels like she still wants to be up here, try and force someone to come back. Worst case, again, they don't have anything that's going to go through the BKB. You can just BKB TP away.
You high ground?
They are hanging around this Ancients area for way too long on Execration. They are not making anything happen. They're going to go for the smoke together, trying to catch out of the lucky power rune, but not going to be lucky enough. And, I mean, I'm sure Geek Slate are just saying, where are they, guys? No one's defending this high ground push. Are they wrapping around behind us? Do we have vision for high ground? Eventually they make a rotation back, but they've given up a lot.
That they have. second tier 2 tower of the game going down. Gave up some of their map control over to the kind of western side of the map. And now Geek Slate going to look to try and reclaim this. Force on the Vanguard. Team's going to smoke behind him. We'll be able to see Tino's positioning. Force going to look to try and start. Tino's not an easy kill. Doesn't really have any boys behind to act as reinforcements. Maybe that's where the Solar Guardian can come into play. And without being able to address the Wraith back to damage mitigation, it's going to be a big issue here for them. They are lining up for huge Mortimer Kisses. As with the globs raining down, it's not enough to get the kills at the moment. Skem, held in place with the LSA, is going to be punched up into the heavens. As Execration somehow bring the numbers fast enough. And now they're even going to get another kill as well onto Namen. So we're getting to a stage where we really got to start to talk about if Geek Slate are unable to get more out of this lineup, then the scaling potential is very limited.
It is, for sure. And, you know, even though Force has obviously been the most dominant force around the map, pun intended, he is level 12 against Bob and is level 14, right? He's starting to fall behind. He doesn't flash farm quite as quickly. And he's catching up despite having that track advantage on the Bounty Hunter. Kunkka's only about 1,000 or so net worth behind. So things are looking up for Execration. If they can get Tino to level 15, finish up that AC, they take a successful team fight, they could really start to consider breaching high ground. That would have been crazy to say even just a few minutes ago. I mean, they didn't finish off the Wraith Pact in that fight as well. It just stayed pulsing, doing the physical damage reduction purposes, so a lot of heroes were able to get away that probably shouldn't have. 3 out of the 4 hits.
Bob? A lot of trouble. Was actually going to get BKB TP out, but forces Janata damage and gives a tip back as well. He kind of remembers some of those early tips that Bob was giving him.
Oh, you just got to consider as well a little bit of the luck coming through for Geek Slate. Have a look at the neutral item held by Force. It's the Brigand's Blade. So those BKB TPs away are not doable, especially when you've got the Janata dealing all of that extra bonus damage. It just amplifies so much higher. And
that's a much needed kill for him as well, considering how kind of the past couple of minutes and gone. And like you said, he really doesn't farm. He's got 64 last hits. So he's almost behind. The Dawnbreaker has 1 less than him. That's just, like you said, showing that this is a hero that really, the way you get net worth is off the back of kills.
Yeah. So what is that? Like basically an additional 70 damage plus the 220 from the Janata plus 170% critical strike when he's tracked. Like it is a crazy amount of damage that Force is able to pump out as long as he's got that BKB to do so. So he's finished it up. He hasn't even had to use it yet. And he's going into the Nullifier next just to prevent any kind of Force Staff, Ghost Scepter, kiting shenanigans.
And that's really what the name of the fight has to be for Execration. Just a kite. You need to play in an area where ideally is kind of a choke point in a way because sorry, not a choke point because you want full distance to be able to run around. You need to continue to kite Geek Slate. And that's a big reason of why Palace has gone for this Hurricane Pike.
And they really want this level 15 on Tino. They're spamming abilities in the mid lane and they're just desperate to try and have that little bit of extra damage to be able to take out whichever target is that they converge on. But with all of that indecision, everyone's going to be able to get away on Geek Slate. Why didn't still take the tower?
They saw, I believe, the LSA mid. They saw some spell being used mids.
Yeah.
A couple of pings.
Dragon Slave and LSA.
Great read from them to just the attention they're putting across the map. So if they get the T2 tower, they get up with their own lives, continuing to farm. Cox still top of the net worth. He's going to be working on a Silver's Edge here for the Nature's Prophet, so...
Oh, this is dangerous for Palace. Force has to be a little careful. He is 4 levels behind, considering he hasn't been able to extend completely from that amazing start to the game. Palos, can you just walk back into this lane? I'm not so sure you can. Very, very ballsy, but that's the way you're going to come back into it, right? Is being on the edge, finding that farm that the Bounty Hunter isn't.
Who they've run into? Bulb actually at the triangle. On the Roger's pretty beefy though. Warcry stopping a lot of the damage. Not an easy fight now for Execration to take as Bob still trying to get the kill onto the Sven, but he's putting himself in such a compromised position where he might not be able to escape. Force playing with his own BKB. It's going to be up to Palace to potentially turn this fight into Execration's side. Going to be able to split away for the Mortimer Kisses. Geek Slate very hesitant though. We're still taking that fight.
Cox came super late to that fight as well. Basically had 0 impact there, and it's one of those other instances where he was holding onto the smoke instead of the cloak. on the Sven. Might have been able to survive that little bit longer, provide that AoE armor bonus to all of his allies. It's just, again, these little things going Execration's way, and well, if they're able to do that again around the next Roshan, get that free Aghanim shard over, maybe give it to Tino, considering how much I've been mentioning how important he is, his survivability for, you know, just how hard he is to kill, his auras, holding onto the Aquila, the Buckler, the Wraith Pact, the Assault Cuirass. It's all just about preventing the physical from coming in onto your team. Not just yourself, but also these squishier heroes like Palace.
Dire are scanning.
Execration, they're going to look to try and
Radiant's middle tower.
reclaim this jungle. They're considering about walking on forward to the Ancients. We have that board place. So look at the triangle they kind of have set up around Roche. All the vision they would ever need to take a fight nearby. And that's really the game deciding Roche, I think. If Geek Slate do not get this, I'd be so confident with the Execration's lineup to move over towards the later stages as well. Maybe they're going to try and target down Palace. The team's off for the high ground, so they're not playing with the leaner. Forced into the BKB. Palace going to be able to reposition. They're going to give him the run buff as well. Palace trying to stand strong and get as much damage out as he possibly can. They should be able to go through Palace's life pool in the end. And now can they get more of the members as well? Solar Guardian's going to come through to give them the space as Tino turns, dealing with the Sven. But a beautiful cookie from Narman onto 2. And now Bob's going to be caught out as well with a mortar kiss. Is getting layered down. Geek Slate find 4 and now Roche as well.
They get everything that they could possibly want. They're considering just going. Forget Roche. Let's just try and take some high ground towers. We've got our advantage. We've got the Helm of the Overlord. We've got AC. Everything that we could possibly want. Even, I believe that might be a Satanic coming through as well for Nature's Prophet. So enabling much more of that standard man fight style.
Oh, they should be able to get... They push incredibly fast. Should be a full set. The fact they're going to get a full set and probably Roshan as well? Oh boy.
Dire's middle barracks has fallen.
Never mind. Just a melee. Happy with that. And they're going to look to try and back up 14,000 net worth lead. And we were speaking about the potential Aghanim shard onto Execration. Well, looks like it's going to be Geek Slate who will add that one to the arsenal.
Wonder if he even gets it. I can maybe...
And they see Palace, this top lane ward. They know he TP'd. They're going to hunt him down. Look at Skem with the backstab. And there's nothing they can do in Execration. Solar Guardian's on cooldown. Palace will be able to force out.
BKB.
Has the BKB to work with. Not really going to do too much to Skem. So Carlo's in. Punch him up to the sky. The boys have shown up in full force. And now they can turn it around. Easy kill onto the Lycan. They need to get more out of this though, as Cox is actually going to look to try BKB and TP out of. They don't have a way to address it. They won't also catch up the force as well, but does this open up Roshan? It didn't take too much damage from Geek Slate prior.
I feel like you got to take every opportunity that you can, though. You're not going to have these outnumber situations all that often, and well, they're not going to know the situation. They know force is here.
Ducks in and out.
Good pathing.
Can they stall this? What do they got? They got kisses they can use potentially. They're going to cookie force in. There's the kisses, but the Solar Guardian mitigating a lot of the damage of Palace. He's got a free fight, so the Lena's damage is starting to rack up. They're going to turn to deal with Cox, and they just melt away the Nature's Prophet. And now Force is going to go down as well. A cookie will not be enough to get some distance away. As Execration, they are well and truly back in this game. A dieback out of Rochi. Roche now up for grabs. This is scary stuff for the Geek Slate lineup.
Oh, for sure it is. You know, it's one of these rosters and lineups that look incredibly effective, but there is such little margin for error. You do not scale to the same extent. Will they be able to deny the Aghanim shard? No. Carlo able to pick it up just in time. Sure, you give it to him as a result of that, but instead, it's going to be the tidal wave given over to the Kunkka. Again, just more capability to kite out in the middle of these team fights. That's something that's going to require a BKB that's not going to be cancelled out by the nullifier as well. So, very worthwhile for them to pick that one up.
This damage mitigation it's too much, Danog. We spoke a lot about the Wraith Pack, but Shanks, we saw what his Dawnbreaker was able to do in the previous series. He's going that exact same build, Holy Locket into the Scepter. Once he completes the Scepter, I don't know how they kill the Leaner if the Solar Guardian is available.
Yeah, I mean, it was a couple of seconds off in that fight to the in the Radiant Ancients area, so it would have been even more influential and convincing for Execration if they would be able to pick that one up. I mean, Narman again is just having some absolutely bonkers team fights right now.
That he is, but unfortunately it's just not enough for them at the stage of the game.
I wonder if this Blink Dagger on Narman is specifically so that he could find the Wraith Pact and just instantly kill it, because it feels that way to me. You know, his positioning has been pretty solid. He's got the Force stuff to be able to get himself back out to safety in addition to the Fire Snap cookie, but a lot relies on his individual play in the middle of these team fights.
Yep, no, I think that's a great call. There's definitely a big reason of why you're wanting to go down this route.
Just see, I mean, poor Force. I say poor Force. He made Bob's life a living hell, but he's only level 15. You know, 31 minutes into the game. Certainly be expecting more from this from your mid laner, but this is the price you have to pay when you're going for this sort of cheeky lineup that's just meant to completely dominate the laning stage, which they did.
Ooh.
Radiant's bottom
We've spoken a lot about how fast Radiant push, but we haven't really mentioned Execration because of how far behind they've been. But we can see once they get that Familiars going, AC minus armor, the 15 talent minus armor as well, these buildings melt.
are fortified.
They're going to be forced to put a pretty early glyph on the board as well. Right now, Schem, Cox trying to make a difficult decision up here. Shanks
Jumping, Carlo. Trying to take control of the bounty hunter. They're actually going to be able to blow him up. And they'll turn to Roger as well. No hesitation for looking for the +1, but the X into the boat. An easy kill for them to find.
They're trying to split it up. The Rat Dota is happening. Prophet pushing bottom. Lycan pushing top, forcing out the glyph. What are they going to lose from their base, though?
It looks like they're just getting more out of it in regards to the kills and the buildings getting claimed. Pel's going to try TP back. Oh, the Shuriken didn't bounce, but now Bob and Tina, hang on. How are they going to escape? They're left in no man's land. They don't have the boys playing behind them. Bob, hang on, do they turn? Tina, look at the damage on the Cox. Satanic
though.
just gets him up to a respectable health pool where he's going to be able to stand strong, but Solar got him into the middle. The Scepter's going to be able to reposition to hold Force into play. Tino still wants to try and catch up to the Nature's Prophet. Tino unable to bring him down, though. The sustain, it might be enough. He's still alive, Cox. Finally, they'll get the Fury on, and now Tino's looking for more. The Visage. Can Tino do it all by himself? The Wraith Pack's going to be laid down. Lena's TPing in. They've got big issues on Geek Slate. They might be able to take them all. 4 down. Potentially soon to be a wipe as Force is in trouble. Palos, he's got the detection, but the dust is out. The Laguna Blade to cut away his life. And the tips, oh, they do not forget.
Oh, they don't forget at all. What a man fight coming through from Tino there. The big difference maker for Execration. Just standing his ground, realizing that I've got the Wraith Packs. I've got all of this armor, and my familiars are way too devastating against this single target lineup that they've got. Just starting to build up the armor corruption as well from that extended fight. And Palace, you couldn't ask for a better hero to be alive on Execration to be able to make the most out of this.
Yeah, but importantly, they've got the familiars as well for the minus armor.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little bit, nothing crazy, but at least 2 minus armor to be able to help out. You'll take it.
You'll take Megas, that's for sure.
Radiant's top barracks has fallen.
Who would have thought?
Wow.
This is how the game might be. The outcome might be presenting itself after what we saw at the very beginning. I'm sure as Palace was right-clicking a few of those buildings, his team is just saying, what are you doing, man? Get the hell out of there. You got to make sure that we don't... I was about to say cut our losses, but there were no losses coming through there from Execration. So many buybacks being expended on Geek Slate. And Execration still completely healthy.
There surely has to be an argument to be made on the reasoning why Geek Slate are in this game. They do not have a lineup to address Megas at all, and we have spoken multiple times that this team does not scale. And keep in mind, this is a best of 5. Like, do you really want to use all your mental capacity in a game where it's pretty much done?
Step lively now. Your admiral is on board.
Maybe now, like, if there was a Rax left, I think the mental capacity would still be there. Megas, I think they might just try and have fun with it. Just say, well, we went for something that we thought would work, but weren't so lucky. So have the gem there. I'm just seeing them roaming around, specifically being able to try and find Force, but well, this is going to be rough for sure.
Yeah, Shanks is the one holding the gem, so not with the team. Tier 4 is going down, Force with a jump. Trying to target him, but Wraithpack, Solar got him. Yep, good luck killing Palos. He just stands his ground. continues to pummel into the bounty hunters. Leipold, no buyback for him to work with, and Cox going to get dragged back into the middle. He'll look to BKB TPR, but the damage from Palace will stop that one short as Execration weathered the storm, and they're going to be rewarded with this Game 2 victory.
I knew it was a good draft by Execration. I was confident in it. I was just worried about how the very start would be, but all it takes is a couple of mistakes, right? And then you are right in this game. They had the tools to be able to respond to all of the aggression. They built accordingly as well. You know, again, I keep complimenting Execration's itemization most of the time, but it's for a very good reason, right? Tino just made sure he was this aura bot. They built into all this armor. They built into survivability. That's the big thing, right? Because Bounty Hunter, he's single target. He doesn't do anything once it gets to these later stages if you're just able to withstand these what should be devastating Janata hits. And at the very end, Force was forced to go into the Desolator because he just wasn't this beast anymore.
That he wasn't indeed. And it's just a lineup that is... Do we want to say high risk, high reward? Is that a good way to put it?
Oh, for sure. Like, we saw what it was capable of, right? What was the win probability? Actually wasn't ever that massive. Like 75% at its absolute best when they had the Roche available for themselves, I guess.
Yeah, it was up to about 13k for Geek Slate at some stage in the game. So yeah, high risk, high reward, or you want to say their margin of error was incredibly low. You yes. can't make a lot of mistakes at all with a lineup like that. We saw a handful of mistakes, and then we saw what happened. So Execration, which is really big considering yesterday Geek Slate just bodied Army Geniuses, not in just one game, but in 2 games of the Bounty Hunter. So the fact that they first faced it, Force had it dumpstered Bob, and the game was looking in an incredibly tough position. The fact that they're able to beat this strategy that Geek Slate have kind of had it as a back pocket, looks like through a decent chunk of the group stage, has to give them a lot of confidence. And I think now we're going to be looking towards some familiar heroes going to next game. This Dawnbreaker has been really, really impactful in both Game 1 and Game 2 with Skem playing it, and now with Shanks playing it as well. So I'm excited to see if the priority gets bumped up with that hero or not.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for mine was the adaptability coming out from Execration. The first 10 minutes were really rough. I mean, that was like nearly a 3k net worth lead that the Bounty Hunter on his own had against the Conquer. But to his credit, Bob said, you know what? I'm not laning into this guy anymore. I'm taking the jungle camps. I'm making sure to keep the lane pushed out. I don't want to lose too many towers for free. And let's take every opportunity that I can when he just gets a little bit too cocky to use that boat, to use our magic damage, which they have a decent amount of, to be able to take him down. And, well, they did it really effectively. So good turnaround by Execration. We're going to get at least 4 games now with the score locked at 1-1.
Yes, and like you said, the important thing was the adaptability, and that's something that you need to see out of best of 5, because it can be a long and grueling day where you need to make these minor changes more for Execration. They're going to be able to adapt just a little bit better than Geek Slate in this second game. So we've got a 1-1 tie here. We'll see what we have in store for us for our Game 3 after the break.